Hey everyone, welcome to the Reseller Room podcast. This is a podcast that we've designed to help you start or grow your reselling business, and I'm really excited for today's topic.
Yeah, and before we dive in, I want to introduce ourselves, which we haven't really done. I'm Chase. I've been reselling for a number of years, over 20 years at this point, and full-time for, I think, right around the 8-year mark, ever since I graduated college and did not use my degree. But one of my best friends, He's been there forever with me. Our parents were friends. So Thane was about 6 months old when I was born, and I think his parents visited with him. On the day that I was born in the hospital. So literally been one of my best friends since the day I was born, and he's been a right hand man to me in life and also in this business for as long as I can remember. So Thane has been an excellent supporter of the business, has been very close to it, and really helped it to become what it is today, and is also a executive pastor at our church, where he leads a team and does an excellent job there. So he's a great host. I'm happy to have him on this podcast. And today we're going to talk about motivation and momentum. So often we start off with a dream of what our business could be, but then reality can strike with challenges and unexpected detours. So how can you keep motivation high to reach that dream goal? That's what we're going to talk about. Let's dive in.
Here we go. So as we dive into this conversation, Chase, you've been reselling for a long time, and with any business, no matter if you're starting something brick and mortar or you're doing online resale, there's going to be seasons of tremendous growth and really exciting times. There's going to be times where it's a little bit more of a grind. Can you share just a little bit about what that experience has been like for you over the past decade plus of owning and running a business?
Yeah, so there certainly have been areas of grind and areas of growth. And I think of so the grind, like the slowdowns or the things that kind of hurt momentum, things that come to mind, like summer slowdown can be one. So sales on eBay or Amazon, just naturally slow down in June, July, August, September, October. Honestly, those 5 months historically are the slowest months. And there's a lot of things that, these last couple of years we've tried pretty hard to address those issues, but they still can naturally be a cut to momentum. I think about hiring, about training, those early steps, a lot of growing pains in the sense of realizing, oh man, my systems aren't very good.
Yeah.
Right. So,
or you think when you bring someone on, there's that change valley where you've done something so long, so it's second nature to you. And then you realize oh, they don't know all the things I know. They're not used to the practices I have.
Right. So everybody that I hired has been very quick to learn, but they're still in that original process. It's wow, we really got to dial things in. But ultimately, going through that pain point where we kind of slow down and numbers really, really slow for a short period has been very beneficial in the longer run of getting things more locked and loaded and in place.
Yeah. When you kind of have experienced the slowdown of the business, whether it was a slow month of sales or even a change of structure or changing platforms and things didn't go the way that you thought they would go, how does that impact you as a person? Because you're a pretty type A individual, and obviously you like growth. You're a very progress-minded person. How has that impacted you when things don't quite go to plan?
Yeah, I think there's been times where it gets very discouraging, and the temptation can be to just sit in that, slow down, and just kind of woe is me type of mindset. But generally, my goal is to, in those times, to take action. Don't be a victim. Go after it. And take action. So generally, that's what happens with me. Is a switch flips. I'm problem solving mode. What's going wrong? How can we solve it? How can we get better moving forward? And that's generally been, when I was by myself, and now that I have a team, that's my mindset that I try to have. And it goes a lot better when I have that one.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Anytime you're doing anything for a long period of time, you're going to have seasons where you're amped up and ready to take new grounds, and times where it's a little bit more, like you said, of a grind. So today what I want to do, guys, is I want to go through some of the myths of things that, whether it's in our Discord or just in conversations of business owners or whatever it is, that there may be some myths that people assume is true about running a business. So we're going to unpack some of those. Some of them might have some aspects of truth, but there's some other things we want to dive a little bit deeper on. So the very first myth I want to talk about today is that you need to have a strong motivation to just get a business off the ground, that you really have to be really, really passionate and you have to have a strong motivation just to get it to exist. What would you say to that myth?
I would say that you don't need motivation to get things off the ground, right? So I think a good way to put it would be motivation follows action. So basically, like, one thing I always say is just get started. Somebody's like, how do I list something on eBay? How do I start an eBay? How do I do all this? It's like, just do it.
Yeah.
Like, go through that process. You're gonna have some pain points. You're gonna have to do some learning, but like getting your first item listed, sold, and shipped on eBay can be life-changing. It was for me. It was for many people in our Discord. So a lot of times, like, you get that first sale, so the action was what started it, and then the motivation comes, and you're like, oh, wow, I can go to garage sales. I can find this thing.
Yeah.
And the doors just start to open, connections start to happen, and that motivation follows action, even if you didn't initially have it like in place.
I think that's one of the things that people get confused with all the time is they confuse motivation with discipline and tenacity. Because to say, oh, well, you don't need discipline or tenacity to start a business or to get it off the ground, that's completely untrue. You absolutely need that. But this idea of motivation is more of a byproduct of the actions and the disciplines that you do have.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about getting something off the ground, obviously you should be passionate about it. We've talked about like deal with something and do business in an area of reselling with something that you know and that you understand.
That certainly helps.
But ultimately, discipline is going to be a big part of getting it actually off the ground.
Yeah, one thing that's always been good for me is celebrating the small wins. So from part-time to full-time by myself to with employees, it's been very important for me to take things in small chunks. Like, you know, part-time in college, my wife and I had rent. We had a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment, and being able to pay the rent and then our groceries, which were pretty cheap, just the two of us back in the day, you know, 10 years ago, like being able to pay for rent, pay for groceries and the other little bills with my part-time income, nothing more.
Yeah.
And getting to that point was difficult.
Yeah.
But like,
and that's a win. Like that's
but
big.
working my way up to getting there and being like, wow, you know, this is happening, and this is a huge win. It's not a huge number, but like it's enough to survive, and that's pretty special, and was something that we celebrated. And then, you know, kind of working up from there, like I would have monthly goals after going full time soon after graduating college. Like, okay, like I'm full time now. Can I double last year's June, since I was part time 20 hours a week last June, and like measuring that and looking back and be like, wow, like doubled it, or at least improved by 50-80%, whatever, and celebrating wins. Like that's always been important for me, and I think having like short-term goals, short-term wins and things is really important in addition to the longer-term milestones.
It's the classic saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Like
right.
It's a progress over perfection kind of thing. Is like,
yes,
the people that go into opening a business or go into reselling thinking that they're going to get to from where they are right now to this place of like, man, I'm going to be full-time and flourishing and having employees within X amount of time, and you put that deadline on yourself, that's going to be a motivation killer.
Yeah.
Is because then you feel this pressure to do something that your business just isn't ready to do.
Yep.
So it's one bite at a time, each and every day, finding that kind of that 1% better mentality to just keep growing in your craft and keep growing your business that way. So
that's good. Let's dive into myth number 2.
So the second myth is that motivation can really only be found when it comes in big waves when you're winning. This idea of like, man, I can only really be motivated when I'm getting rewarded for it. What would you say to that?
So that's an interesting one. I think where my head goes for this is like, you can't be directly motivated by the end result. So it's kind of like the process over outcome. So having your metric of success be, you know, did I wake up at my alarm this morning?
Yeah.
Did I start my daily habits? Did I list for the amount of time, you know, say I'm going to list from 8 to noon. Did I list? Was I focused? You know, like having all these processes that are your metric of success, where you can like hang your hat and say, I succeeded today because I put in the work, I put in the hustle, and I focused on these things. Now, the end result might change, but if you do that consistently over a long period of time, that's what leads to success.
I feel like people overemphasize and overfocus on kind of the end financial metrics because there's so much more to growing a business than just the bottom line of profits.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if you don't make profits for a long period of time, you don't have a sustainable business. It's an important thing, but there's going to be seasons of your business where it's not as profitable as it was 3 months ago. There's going to be seasons of your business where you are kind of the digging down before you're kind of building out. In any good business has a good, strong foundation. And for you with your business, it was just you in a basement. And so your systems are able to be about this deep, but now you have team members and almost different departments and this thing that's going on where your processes, you have to spend a lot more time building those out. And for like when you guys are reorganizing the barn and spreading stuff out, you're not making profit during that time, but it's still valuable to the business. It goes a long way in helping grow and sustain a good reselling business. I'm jumping in to share about today's video sponsor, Flipper. In our reselling business, we do a lot with video games. We're always looking for ways to become more effective and efficient in our processes. One tool that we have found incredibly effective is the use of Flipper, allowing us to process dozens of games in mere seconds. So how does Flipper work? Simply lay out the games, whether they're in a bin, on a table, whatever it is, lay them out so you can see all the spines, pull out the Flipper app, point your camera at the games, and the rest is magic. Flipper will analyze all the cover arts, titles, text on the image, and they will begin to formulate what the price charting value is of the collection. Not only that, they'll give you individual values of each game in that collection so that you can make the best buying decisions. The best part of all, it's available to you guys right now. You can go to the Flipper website, FLIPPR, today. Give it a try and let us know in the comments. What has that experience been like for you? We love the app and we know that you guys will too. And if you want to try out their pro version, I would encourage you to do so. You can use our exclusive discount code ROOM20 for 20% off your first month. We think you'll love it. Thank you for Flipper for sponsoring this part of the video. And now let's head back to the conversation.
Yep, that's good. I mean, you can't say it enough that the difference between like successful people and not successful people is consistency over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And putting in the right effort consistently to build towards something is huge.
And not getting caught in comparison.
Yeah, so I was gonna. Yeah, I agree.
Because when you start to look at your business, because especially in this YouTube age, and I love that we have YouTube. I mean, it's a great source of inspiration. It's a great way to see like, oh man, these people are doing it or getting in the Discord, being around. Like, I love that part of it. But when you start comparing, what Skylar says, when you're comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10, that's where things get really dangerous. Is you have to be consistent, but not consistently looking at everyone else and their journey, because everyone's running a different race there.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with somebody in the Discord. He was saying, hey man, I'm part-time. I have 4 kids, a 5th on the way. And like at times it can be discouraging looking at, your business, my business, or other businesses in this Discord. But he was referring to a few episodes we recorded previously of like realizing, he is doing a great job. He's grown his business every year. His book, his story is different than somebody else's who's full-time and that has a team or whatever, and he's in a different chapter. So I do think for me, for everybody, comparison is killer. And if you can get to a point where you can take inspiration and learn from those that are doing something really well, and you can learn something from people that are below you, above you, whatever. There's people that are killing it in different ways at every level that you can learn from. And I think it's very important to have that mindset instead of like, oh man, we're not doing that. Like that can be killer.
Myth number 3 that a lot of people deal with is, or can even say is, man, when your business is struggling, you just need to work harder, like put in more hours, keep doing it, like expand what you're doing, try to find new income areas. It's just about working harder. What would you say to that myth?
I mean, my head goes to the work smarter, not harder mindset. So the temptation can be to to just go crazy. Things aren't going well. Let's just work 60 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours a week, and that'll all be solved. I think if you can slow things down, look at your processes, look at the parts of your businesses that are strengths, and say, how can I do more of that? And then look at those things that are weaknesses and say, how can I eliminate, change, or improve those things? So I think it's very, very important. This is a question that I've been asking obsessively like the past 6 months is like, what are we really good at in our business? How can we do more of it? What are other people way better at in their business? How can we partner? How can we serve them in a profitable two-sided way? And then weaknesses like, okay, we're very disorganized here. It's very cluttered here. How can we improve that so that like we get this thing worked out? We had a couple months, March, April, somewhere in there that were slower months, profitability. But those months were where we were building a lot in our website, where we were buying a whole bunch of stuff to ramp up for big months in June, July. But it can be easy to focus on, oh man, bad months, very low profit dollars there. When I knew, and I have to reflect on the fact that we are building towards something, we're getting our processes built up, we're getting the right partnerships, we're emphasizing our strengths and reducing our weaknesses so that for the longer term, we can be even more profitable with the same team and the same amount of time.
You've had such a good track record of this, especially there's things in the business that you've just become incredibly attached to. And you've done a really good job over the past couple of years of being self-aware enough to identify the areas of the business where it's not work harder, it's work smarter. So like one of the ones we just did this yesterday, and or a couple of days ago, and then we're in the month of May, which is a little bit out of the ordinary, is like garage sales. Yeah. Garage sales was a major, major part of your business for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's falling back pretty significantly, and that's not accidental.
Yeah.
So, that's been a process for you because you love that. That was your bread and butter for a decade of running this business.
Yeah. So I think it is important to realize like when your business is evolving, like there's certain things that need to change. So garage sales, like we don't do them nearly as much. We still are doing them. Yeah. Especially for Pokemon Pursuit and building up the collection. And they're just fun. Yeah. So there's something about the long-term like mental health of still like doing the things that you love that bring you life. But yes, like the way that I source has considerably changed. And I think that's necessary for these new processes and things that we've put in place. But sometimes it takes me longer than it should to be willing to change and to adapt and to grow. And a lot of times if people aren't willing to change, adapt, and grow, they're done. Like they're not reselling anymore. They don't have a business anymore because they weren't willing to do it. I've met a lot of people that were like that. Like they're just like, oh, these additional fees, or oh, this live selling thing, or oh, this Amazon thing, I just can't do it. Yeah. And it's like, I get it. But for me, I'm in this for the long haul, and I got to be willing to change and adapt.
And you can't let those things rob your joy.
Not at all.
Finding ways to, because that actually leads perfectly into myth number 4 is that being a successful business requires a long and painful grind. That there's going to, whether it's markets changing or platforms changing, that you have to kind of keep that high tenacity throughout the entire run. This is one of the things that's been foundational to you, is like you have found a way to not feed into that. It has to be a grind. I have to keep going. If I'm going to succeed, it's going to be because A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be painful. I really agree with that. Like, it can be fruitful. It can be fun. It can be all these things. And I think putting the right people around you, getting the right processes in place, doing these things that can make the business enjoyable have made it fun for me. And also like making the right connections. Like just all these things that can be enjoyable, connecting with Michael Cash, connecting with Alfredo, all these local people, Juan, that have become like part of this channel, and people that are really enjoyable to be around. And then like hiring people that I really like, that I want to grow this thing with, and giving them a piece of the pie so that we're all in this together. And like, this isn't just me, this is all of us together. Like there's all these things. For me, I'm very communal minded. Mm-hmm. I love community. I love connection. So the Discord and that type of thing also, you know, making content has become a good way to get a lot of community.
Yeah.
There's all these things that like some of it was luck and it worked out that way. Like I didn't expect it to get to where it is, but some of it was like, man, I really enjoy this thing, so I want to do more of it.
Yeah.
And like going to garage sales and filming it was really fun, and it was a great way to connect with friends and like have great conversations, you know, in between sailing and all that stuff. So I do think it is important to enjoy the process. Like it doesn't have to be painful.
Yeah.
It can be enjoyable.
Motivation in a major way comes from doing things you love with people that you love doing it with and in a way that you enjoy doing it. Like that's where you're going to get motivated. If what you're doing, if you're going into work every day, even if it's not as a business owner, if you're going into work on a 9 to 5 and you hate what you do and hate who you do it with, you're not going to stand the test of time in that environment. Like you have to find ways to put yourself in situations where you're going to succeed. And that's really where motivation comes from. For you, that's been processes and discipline and surrounding yourself with the right people. That's 100%. Been a huge win. So, hey, we hope that you guys have enjoyed this conversation, just talking about motivation. And we're not going to act like we have it all figured out. You guys probably have a ton that you'd love to add to this dialogue. We'd love to hear in the comments below what helps you keep motivated in a growing business, or even in those seasons where business is a little bit more challenging. We'd love to hear it in the comments below. Also, join us on the Discord. We're going to be having a live call about this topic, about keeping motivation and where that comes from. We'd love to have you be a part of that. You can check out that information in the description below.
Thanks for joining us on The Reseller Room. Please tell your friends that you think would enjoy this topic and the others that we've talked about, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Adios.